Welcome to Esravision and the first edition of the year 2011. And Ezra has brought out a new memory keeper designed by Ethiopian women just in time, and all the proceeds will be going to the Ezra project for the community, and you can get it at the Ezra shop. Staying with the community, it may surprise you to know that even though Israel was one of the countries least affected by the global recession, there are many people in this country who simply do not have enough to eat.
I was going to the Markaz Klita and meeting the new Olim, and I found that some of them couldn't feed their families sufficiently. And a friend of mine had a restaurant, and so we went to collect the food that would have been thrown out. Within a few weeks, the canyon in Rananim had called to say, come and collect the leftovers. The hardest thing for these families is to actually have to admit that they are not able to feed themselves or their families. It's very difficult to receive a parcel of food from someone you don't know. It's dealing with a whole family unit, anything that may happen with the kids, if any of the kids are in trouble. You know, maybe the children are not coping with it. The children are a huge, huge problem for us as well as the parents, because a lot of them are too embarrassed to receive the food and won't eat it. So we try also for those families to deliver food when the kids are not around. The mother, if she's clever enough and creative enough, will take whatever we give. And if there's plain rice, she'll chop a few onions and peppers, and when the child walks in, it looks like she's just finished cooking. We try to save the kids as much humiliation and anxiety as we can, because they live in a constant state of fear. Fear of finding out that, you know, we're getting food, fear of not having food, fear of coming home and opening the fridge and finding that there isn't anything for lunch today.
We know about some students that they don't have something to eat during the day simply because poverty. The mother or the father is working the whole day. The income is not sufficient to have all the food that their children need.
The kids become very aware of other people's circumstances, and she had a friend who used to come to school and say, no sandwich for me today, or I don't want anything, I'm on a diet. I think the diet extended to school as well as when she went home. You know, she just never had anything to bring to school. She never got a meal at night. And even though her friends had picked up on it, her pride didn't allow her to actually admit what the circumstances were. So being on a diet, a permanent diet, was an easier way for her to deal with things, you know, than actually admitting that things were so difficult.
To come from a stand of dignity and equality, we give the food to all the students without any difference. So each one that he wants to eat, he can have a sandwich or two without asking.
We deliver the food on a Thursday and a Friday. We deliver the food parcels in time for Shabbat, so we know, that these families are going to eat something decent for Shabbat. We try to include something for the kids. It's not always possible, but just something that makes Shabbat a little special. A chocolate, maybe a bag of bamba. You think maybe a lollipop or something small means so much for them, but it's just maybe a little bit of normality, the same as their friends, because on Shabbat, we should get something special. Unfortunately, at the moment, things are very, very hard economically. So the food is less, the families are, the numbers are higher, the food is lower, so we're not managing as well as we did to give them enough, to last a week. So they get between 3 and 4 days worth of food.
Now Now, in sharp contrast, we go over to the Hilton Hotel where IBCA, the Israel-British Commonwealth Association, is holding its annual Balfour dinner. This prestigious Balfour dinner, marking the 93rd anniversary of the historic Balfour Declaration, gave IBCA members and friends an opportunity to meet Britain's young, new, and for the first time ever, Jewish ambassador to Israel, Matthew Gould.
The word IBCA is Israel, Britain and the Commonwealth Association. It was formed shortly after the end of the mandate, at which time the relations between Great Britain and Israel were not particularly good. Lord Balfour was part of the British government that in 1917 agreed that there should be a homeland in Palestine for the Jewish people, because at that time Britain was holding the mandate, and therefore when Britain left Palestine in 1947, 46, 47, the fact that they'd made a commitment, subject to various conditions, but they had made a commitment that this was to be a homeland for Jewish people, that had really enabled the world to accept that the State of Israel should be born. So the Balfour Declaration was important. Being a British act, then we, the IBCA organisation, felt it appropriate that we should continue to celebrate that and remind people in Israel and in Great Britain of the connection between the two countries. IBCA was one of those formed mainly to provide a cultural and social connection, and the objects of the association are to improve and maintain good relations between Britain, Israel and the Commonwealth. It's an opportunity for people from Great Britain, the Commonwealth and other English-speaking areas to meet together in a social environment and to hear something of the life and times in Israel.
I was 4-month member of British Palestine. I was born January 15, 1948, and the rest are Israeli. And I'm proud to be a Zionist and Israeli, and in my life I'm committed to keep the idea not only of the Balfour Declaration, which I later will quote, the letter of Lord Balfour to Lord Rothschild, but also to the idea that my parents taught me. I lost 5 of my uncles and 3 of my grandparents in the Holocaust. What is the purpose of this Jewish state?
There have been many moments that have helped me understand the country in which Celia and I now live. One of my favourite such moments came when we went to a concert here, and we were queuing up to get into the concert hall, and I could hear the lady behind us in the queue explaining to her family who I was. She was saying, she told them. And as she told them I was the British ambassador, it was at that moment she pushed me out of the way so that she could get in place. As Renee says, in those 2 months, we've hosted William Hague in a very successful visit here. We've launched a major program of scientific collaboration between Britain and Israel. We're planning a major push to build a partnership between our high-tech companies. We've held the most senior and strategic dialogue we've held so far on Iran. My agenda here is ambitious, and it's long, and it's very positive.
There are an estimated 70,000 Jews of Indian origin in Israel. Our next piece is about an Indian wedding and the traditions that go around it.
The story goes something like this. When a group of Jews left the land of Israel sometime around the fall of the Second Temple, the sea carried them to the west coast of India, to the area known today as Maharashtra province. There, a shipwreck was to determine their fate. Legend says that only 7 couples survived, and from them sprung a group of Jews that was to be known as the Bnei Israel. Scattered among small villages around Bombay, now Mumbai, they transplanted their skills as oil pressers to their new homeland.
2000 years ago, in Israel, there were a business of selling olive oil to other Arab countries. And as we know, the new immigrant, when he go to the other country, he look for the same profession which he knows, because he is a master of that profession.
In this exotic setting, oil proved to be one of the keys to their survival, both as new immigrants and as Jews, since the lighting of oil lamps for Shabbat lay at the heart of their Jewish identity. Often adopting elements of popular folklore from their Muslim and Hindu neighbors, the Bnei Israel transformed them into their own Judaic traditions. In this sense, the Mehendi, or China, and the Melida, events held during the week prior to a Bnei Israel wedding, still show traces of local Indian cultures.
We don't know actually how they took this, the Mehndi ceremony, but it is part of the little bit from the Islamic tradition and part of it is Hindu tradition, but it is not a religious function or religious ceremony.
Emigrating to Israel in the 70s, the community wanted to preserve its unique rituals. Orpa Slapik, a curator at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem and author of The Jews of India.
It's true. They like to celebrate in a special way. For Bnei Israel, for Indians in general, the joy of the festivities is in gathering the entire family together and all their friends. And also, especially against the background of their absorption here in Israel, there's a need to hold on to traditions that can get lost. And in spite of their modern lifestyle, they still hold these ceremonies.
In Israel today, celebrations like Bechina are preserved by about 60% of Bnei Israel families, although the source of many of the features is still unclear, and their meaning remains veiled, alluding to much more than the eye can see. Orpa, who explored the Mehendi firsthand when she researched her book in India, says that the ceremony rests on powerful beliefs.
You have to remember that this ceremony, which is called the henna, is one of a chain of ceremonies which are connected to rites of passage, marking the important events in a person's life from birth until death. And in the ceremony, it's necessary to protect people against the bad things that can happen to them because situations are not stable.
Linked to the idea of what we eat, what we wear, and what we do can act as a kind of insurance to help us deal with life's uncertainties. Every detail of the Mehendi is carefully choreographed and played out in the hope of influencing the bride and groom's future. Tonight's China that is held in Ramla, a town in central Israel that is home to about 1,000 Bnei Israel Jews, starts traditionally with the serving of chuli and gari to hundreds of invited guests and relatives. These are the bitter and sweet foods, the touchstones of life. Chuli, or rice and beans, is spicy, while gari, made of rice flour and water mixed with sugar, is sweet. Color is thought to convey luck. So during the China, the bride changes from a blue sari she wore to greet guests into a green one, the color that to the community symbolizes prosperity and fertility. To mark the beginning of the ritual, Sharona and Ariel sit on chairs covered with white fabric and are served the foods especially made for the event. They in turn feed young boys who are said to be their guards. A group of women gather carrying trays with special offerings for the couple. Foremost among them is the china itself, a paste made from dried china leaves and roots. 2 trays of china, one for him and one for her, have been prepared. A bamboo tray placed near the foot of the groom's chair suggests a wish list for the couple. Coconut symbolizes prosperity, and unrefined sugar expresses the desire for a sweet life. Yet beneath the surface of the china, its gaiety, its color, lie profound messages suggesting the fear of evil spirits that might rob the bride and groom of happiness.
It is in the customs of all communities, not only in our Bnei Israel community, it is in the community of Hindus also, Muslims also, even in Israel it is there. We have the Khamsa to save us from the evil eye and all those things. So, especially at the time of auspicious occasions like weddings and bar mitzvahs, the evil eye has to be avoided, and during the ceremonies itself, there are things we do to get rid of those factors concerning the evil eye.
It is thought that one of the most powerful ways to keep evil at bay is by applying china to the bride and groom's index fingers. This is the finger that must be safeguarded since the wedding ring is worn on it. In order to ensure the couple's fertility and economic security, jasmine wreaths and silver chains are tied to their foreheads and temples after first having been placed on the forehead of the female attendants. Gifts are also exchanged. Of course, the rice that fills the bamboo tray also alludes to fertility and recalls God's words to Abraham to be fruitful and multiply. As guests and family approach the couple, they take a handful of rice, touch the bride and groom's knees and shoulders 3 times, and throw the rice behind them to keep danger away. Ariel and Sharona's heads are then circled 3 times with money that is tossed into the rice tray. This act appears to hold out a promise of success in the future for the bride and groom. At the end of the evening, the money is collected and given to charity. While the many stages and components of the china are intended to bless the bride and groom prior to their wedding, the ceremony called Melita, performed the next day, appears to accompany almost all rites of passage, such as birth and bar mitzvahs. The Melita, unique to Bnei Israel Jews, offers another opportunity to ask for and receive more blessings for a successful marriage. Basically, the ceremony honors both God and the prophet Eliyahu, who holds a special place in the hearts of the Bnei Israel community.
The legend of Elijah is told us by our father, grandfather and great-grandfather is like that. One day, one village is there named Khandala, And one night there was storm and lightning and many noise outside. So the people came to the window and they were watching outside, and they saw one white horse, and on the horse sitting a person with white beard, old man, and they thought he must be the Eliyahu Nabi. The same night they didn't come out. The morning they came out where the thing is happened, and they saw the footprint of a horse on one rock. Since then, they are saving that place where the Eliyahu Nabi visited, and they saved that place as a holy place, and they know that Eliyahu Nabi visited to Jews in India in that time.
The Melita tray is made up of sweet rice, also known as Melita, and topped with whole fruits and twigs of myrtle. After the fruit is blessed, it is passed around and everyone takes their share. 5 fruits are chosen, and it appears that the number 5 is symbolic.
Now, number 5 is supposed to be an auspicious number in the Hindu community, in the Muslim community, and I think even in the Jewish community. The Hindus normally have five important gods. The Muslims also believe in the Panja they call it. We have 5 fingers, and we have got Khamsa among the Jews. So the number 5 is said to be auspicious. Even in the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daleh, He. He is the 5th alphabet, and that we use it when we have to refer to God.
Because fertility remains such a strong theme, a handkerchief laden with fruits is given to the groom and the groom's mother. At one time, it was even sewn into the bride's sari, symbolizing again the strong desire for many children. Through customs like the China and the Melita, the B'nai Israel community that numbers around 40,000 in Israel is attempting to hold on to their traditions and pass them on to their children and their children's children, many of whom practice them without any real understanding of their message.
The practices which we followed, some say that they were based on superstition. In fact, I would say that the traditions of all communities in the world are based on superstition, to some extent, if not all. And then, slowly, as the years passed by, they became so to say permanent like. Though in fact they were not having much importance, but we follow them blindly now. In fact, I think most of the things which we do now have become mechanical.
Yet just as their neighbors in India influenced their forefathers' customs, there are signs that many of the features of B'nai Israel traditions are on the verge of disappearing or are being wedded to Israeli traditions. Tonight, the final link in the chain of celebrations for Ariel and Sharona, the wedding ceremony itself, represents not so much a break in tradition, but an attempt to combine B'nai Israel, Israeli, and personal narrative, and transform the elements into a magical, memorable, and contemporary story. So, even though the white gown has replaced the sari, and an imposing white canopy takes the place of the customary velvet chuppah, a place remains for oral traditions that until now have not been lost. Ariel greets his bride with a traditional wedding love song based on a 16th century poem. It has been sung by B'nai Israel grooms throughout the ages. My dove, your splendor resembles Orion and the Pleiades, and I, for love of you, shall sing a song.
נישאות לאור, רבים חוכי, אך גם פרחי, ולפני שנים רבות מספור.
In the tradition of the Bene Israels, we have always attended weddings, we have always attended wedding ceremonies, malidas, and therefore we feel everybody has a tradition. It means it's a part of our life actually. Traditions are part of our life.
And that's all from the Esravision team for this month. Don't forget you can call us on 09 950 8371, or you can reach us on our website at www.ezra.org.il. Bye-bye for now.
I really can't stay.
But baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
But baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been hoping that you'd drop
so
in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands. They're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to
Beautiful,
worry,
what's your
and
hurry?
Father will be pacing the floor.
Listen to the fireplace
So
roar.
really I'd better scurry.
Beautiful, please don't
Well,
hurry.
maybe just a half a drink
Put
more.
some records on while I
The neighbors might think,
Baby, it's bad out there.
see, what's in this
No
drink?
cabs to be had out there.
I wish I knew
Your eyes are like